and welcome everybody to this Writing Mindset podcast. And today I'm more than happy to welcome two wonderful guests. And this is Raymond, Riopel, and Huey. Hello, it's so good to have you on my show.
Hi, Romana. Thank you.
Glad to be here.
At the moment, I'm writing a book because that's a writer's channel. We talk about books as well, and it's all about the mindset. So I mainly will write and describe in that book what did people do during the last 3 years to lighten up their mindset, and that's where you come in. And my first question is, what do you think? How can people help themselves to get a good mindset, a happy mindset, to get more successful and happy in their lives? I know that's a huge question.
Aaron, I'm going to let you take it first because my mind's going, that is a big question.
I found that at the beginning of the whole pandemic that I was really struggling to trust other people, whether they were my neighbors or whether they were government and health officials. I was running a business where I was responsible for other people's children. So I had to act in a manner of a steward where I was responsible for something that did not belong to me, and really felt that I had to put my own fears of distrust of others aside and make sure I was doing the right thing for other people, which led me to needing to be able to trust someone. And because of my past, the idea of trusting someone has always been a challenge for me. But I do trust myself, and to make sure that I was the kind of person I could trust. And that's the key to this. That's what I learned during the pandemic. Am I the kind of person I can trust? That brought me back to needing to be able to say yes, having to be able to say yes. And I feel I can say yes to myself, to working alongside others, to being a contributing member of society, as long as my physiology is in place. My body has to work. Before my mind works, my body has to work. If my body doesn't work, my mind will follow. If my body doesn't work, my spirituality won't work. My finances won't work. My business won't work. So during the last 3 years, I went back to the basics of physiology. Am I getting enough sleep? Am I drinking enough water? Am I eating good food, healthy food, nutritional food? Am I moving my body? And am I breathing on purpose? Because see, I can do all 5 of those things accidentally and not very well, and everything suffers. Mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually, financially suffers if I don't sleep well, eat well, drink enough water, move my body, and breathe on purpose. That's how I rediscovered the ability to trust myself, is because as I did those 5 things, I trusted my body again.
And what I would add on to that, Romana, is then, because I love your answer, Aaron, because that is exactly where it starts. And for me, then it was, what am I doing to take care of myself in that manner? So who am I surrounding myself with? Because, they say you will be the average of the 5 people you surround yourself with and spend the most time with. And during that time, I noticed that I was listening myself to the negative, the what could happen, what should happen. So it was like, consciously, on purpose, as Aaron would say, changing it over to, I choose to surround myself and communicate with people. One of the things I think was the biggest or worst thing they could have done is called it social distancing. Physical distancing, yes, but boy, did we need social during that time to be able to reach out, because how many people felt they were alone and couldn't talk to someone? And, funny enough, this is where, even though we've worked together for years, this is where Aaron and I actually came together to really be full-on business partners. And it started with asking the question of, how do we support a community that we've both been part of that we know are going to struggle through this? And we ended up reaching out to thousands of students that we had worked with from a specific program. And we started saying, how are you doing? Let's talk about this. Let's get on the right mindset. So yeah, trusting yourself first step. Absolutely. Then who are you surrounding yourself with is the other way I would answer that.
Thank you so much. That's That's pure truth, I think. And that brings me to my next question, because many of my listeners are entrepreneurs. They are started their own business during the pandemic. So what do you think is the most important step for young entrepreneurs to get successful? Because everybody wants to become successful, right? But where do you start? What's the first step?
Yeah, and I'll start with this one, Aaron, because I'm going to go to something a mentor told me a few years ago. He said, don't get good, get done. And then I added on to that, by getting done, you're going to get good. So most people think, and they never start. Especially as a young entrepreneur, be willing to make the mistakes. That's where some of your greatest lessons are going to come from. So just start, get going. And as you stumble, you're going to figure out what worked, what didn't work. Then, yeah, what will I do different? And go again. Because if you wait and think, you'll never start. So don't get good, get done, because by getting done, you will get good. Over to you, Aaron.
Yeah, Robert, that is one of my favorite ones. It's that action first principle. Just get going, get it done. It's wonderful. As I have spent many years as an entrepreneur with some wonderful successes and some awesome failures, the biggest lesson that I have carried away from being in business for myself for 30 years now is what I call the 2 times rule. And I apply it now with every idea. The reason why I created the 2 times rule is because I really got burned by people who were selling some quick, rich scheme. You know, I would read a book, I would go to a seminar, and everybody had a faster, better, simpler, easy way to do what I was finding was just work. And I didn't mind the work. If I minded the work, I didn't do the work. I did the work I don't mind doing. And I've become successful doing work I love doing. But what I've also attributed my success to is a very simple 2X rule. Everything that you're going to do is going to take twice as long, cost twice as much, and be twice as much work as you thought it was or you were told it was. People sell through lies, through half-truths, through misleading, because we love easy. Our brains crave easy. Being an entrepreneur isn't easy. And when it gets hard, it doesn't mean you're failing. It means you're actually doing the work.
Yep.
Twice as much work as you were told it was. It's going to cost you twice as much, and it's going to take you twice as long. That's the rule. And I live by that rule, and I'm not let down by my own business.
Well, thank you. That's exactly the experience I have.
Oh, we're not the only ones?
No,
What?
you're not.
I thought I made that up for me. What? Other people could use that? Awesome.
Oh my God. Thank you so much. So my upcoming book is all about mindset, as I said, and to work with your mindset. So what do you think in general, not only entrepreneurs, is the biggest mistake, the biggest mindset mistake one can have that keep you from being happy?
Yeah, you know, I went back to thinking about my very first trip to India, and an amazing young lady that I met. I finished an event, and they said they knew I wanted to go shopping and wanted to pick stuff up for my wife. So they sent one of the staff members in their car to drive me around, and met this amazing young lady named Shweta. And I was talking to her, and being a typical Westerner, I wasn't in the right frame of mind. And I said, I'd like to ask people how they are doing, if they like what they do. And she said, yeah, right now I love what I do. And I go, what do you mean right now? She goes, well, I'm getting married next year, and so I'll probably stop working at that time. And so, being a curious person, I said, oh, well, congratulations. How did you meet your husband or your fiance? And she goes, oh, I'll meet him at our engagement party. See, I wasn't cluing in to arranged marriages. And all of a sudden I'm like, oh, and Shweta was very open. I said, look, I'm just going to I apologize. I'm the ignorant Westerner, but I've always wondered, how does that work? Do you find love eventually? And she says, in India, we have love marriages and arranged marriages. I said, so do the arranged ever turn into love? She goes, they do sometimes. And I follow And I'm like, how do you deal with that? Not knowing your spouse and then meeting them on your engagement party and then meeting them on your wedding day. How do you deal with that? And she said this that changed it for me. She goes, I follow what my mother told me. She said, choose to be happy. In whatever you're doing, just choose to be happy. She goes, because if I come in with trepidation and anxiety and stress, that's going to form in the relationship. But if I come in choosing to be happy, no matter how it starts and goes, I'm having a happy life. And I want people to understand, you actually have that choice. You can't, that's a mindset right there. You can choose to be happy just as easily as you choose to be miserable, just as easily as you choose to be stressed, as easy as you choose to be angry. Like, choose to be happy. Why not do that?
I find that people waste time on negativity and drama. And there's a very simple process to follow. It's extremely simple to follow to avoid getting distracted from your direction. See, being an entrepreneur is about deciding your own direction. And as you're on that path that you have set to success, there's going to be so many things that distract you. And some of the things will be important and are worth looking at. And some of the things will not be important and are not worth looking at. We get involved in dramas. We get involved in side projects, shiny object syndrome. I ask myself a question because I'm distracted constantly. I'm very, very ADHD. But as a business druid, my goal is harmony with the natural world. That is always my goal, that my business, my work, my life, my energy, my spirit remains in harmony with the natural world, the what is. And so when the what is shows up and it's bright and shiny or dark and gloomy and very dramatic and provocative, I ask myself a simple question: will this moment matter in 5 years? That's how I stay away from things like road rage. I'm a pretty aggressive person. I'm very competitive with myself. When somebody cuts me off in traffic, I feel that rise in tension and I say, will this matter in 5 years? And it won't. It doesn't. So many things we think are important just won't matter in 5 years. So if it's not going to matter in 5 years, then the question becomes, well, does it matter now? And it doesn't. If it does, if this is going to matter in 5 years, then it matters now. Pay attention to the moment.
Wow, thank you. My next question is answered already. Thank you very much. So
make up some new questions, Romana.
You made it. So that brings me to my next one. I work a lot with people who want to write a book. They write their first book. They just started or didn't start, and they have sometimes huge problems to step out of that comfort zone of feeling secure, right? If you publish a book, it can be that, yeah, people don't like it, or you think they don't like it. So what do you think is a mindset changer if persons have problems with leaving their comfort zone?
Just do it. And Aaron, I'll let you start on that.
So I'm not a writer. I'm working on my second book now. My first book is doing fine. But I have both times, my first book and this book, am working with co-authors, people I know, people I like, people I trust, and people I want to share the experience with. I'm not a writer. I'm a talker. So that's my job, is to talk and to vent the information and process it through connection and communication. That's where my creativity comes out. So I can't tell you what to do to make sure you sit down and write, but I can tell you to just start talking. My version of just start, and I'm in 100% agreement with Robert. You just start. But for me, I don't start writing. I start talking and I record it. And then I get that recording transcribed. And then I edit the transcription. I have found that who I'm writing for, who I'm talking for, needs to be very clear. It's a niche market. It's always a niche market. No, your story is not going to inspire everyone.
Nope.
Find the people who will be inspired. Do your demographic psychographic and talk to less people than you think you need to. Limit your market to increase your impact. The reason why we get lost is we don't know how to say the one thing we need to say to everybody, because everybody hears it differently. So find the one market, that one audience, that small, limited audience of millions of people. Because in nowadays population, a small audience is 1 million people wide. Speak in their voice, talk to them, market to them, find out how they breathe, think, find out where they buy their coffee or if they make it at home. Limit your market, increase your impact, and baby, start talking.
And see, that positions you as an authority right there, because now with limiting your market, you become known as the person there. And so you may have to adjust it. And this is where your one book can turn into a series of books, because it might be, as a business herald, I bring the message from the king or the queen to the people. But if I'm in one town, I have to say it the way they want to hear it. But then the very next town, same message, but I say it in a different way so they get it. And one of the best ways to do that, so you're not getting overwhelmed, is to reach out to someone like you, Romana, who is a business coach on this, a writing coach, to help take, as Aaron and I heard once, and I love the saying, help remove the blank page. Allow it to start getting something on the page where you take your knowledge and you're saying, hey, I've written 10 plus books. Here's how you would do this next step. So quit trying to do it on your own, especially if you're a new author. That's what's going to hold you back. That's what's going to get you overwhelmed. Find someone who's already accomplished what you want. And that's why, and want everybody to hear this. That's why I would reach out to Romana. She knows how to get started. She knows how to do the journey. She knows how to get the books done. And now you tied into the little bit of wisdom, and I'll call it little, Aaron, that you and I have been giving them on how to, move forward. And you will be amazed at what you're capable of. And especially with what Aaron said, just start talking. But then, hey, Romana might be able to be your interviewer and say, what about this? What about this? And you just talk and record it, transcribe, and then you're just crushing. Next thing you know, you're going, dang, that was easier than I thought. Yeah, Aaron.
During the pandemic, when Robert and I started working together, he and I also started working with 2 other partners and 3 other partners. I apologize, 3 other partners, and became part of a bigger organization. And Robert and I were tasked with doing a lot of creating for that organization. And I'm very excited with what we've created because it was just released as an app. And I'll talk about that in a minute. A full game for your phone. It's a blast. But one of the tactics that Robert and I use in our work when we're teaching entrepreneurs about their business is the brain dump process. Mm-hmm. And the brain dump process, whether you're talking or whether you're writing, is a process where you do not correct yourself. Once you start, what you start with is everything you can think of. Empty your brain. Talk or write until you are done talking or writing. Don't correct. Don't figure out what you shouldn't be talking about. Don't cross it out. Write it down. Because the first part of the process is the brain dump. Just get it out. Every idea you have, get it out. Once it's all out and your brain is nice and empty, then you go back through that list, that page, and you find the flaw. That's the second part of the process, where you actually go through the page and you say, okay, this doesn't work, but if I cross this one out, this brings up this, and through finding the flaw, the brain dump will begin again. You see, the creative process tends to get hijacked by the find the flaw process. So make sure you brain dump and then find the flaw, because on that second part, the brain dump will begin again. And that's your creative cycle coming into play. I know it sounds crazy. Trust us. We have watched it with over 95,000 entrepreneurs. That's how many people Robert and I have worked with. 95,000 business owners. And that's what we teach. Brain dump, find the flaw. Brain dump. Your ideas will emerge as long as you get out of the way of them emerging.
And now I'm curious because you talked about an app and you called yourself, Robert, you called yourself Harold, right?
Correct.
So what's that all about? Please let us know.
Yeah, Aaron was talking about, we've been in the creative process and we've just launched an app and it's called Business Empire. It's a free app to use. And what's brilliant about this is it teaches you real world business skills while doing fantasy gameplay. And you don't even realize while you're playing the game, you're actually creating business, you're learning business, you're understanding business better, because it's not, oh, fantasy, hopefully it works. The game is fantasy, but the tactics and the principles are absolutely real for learning business. And the easiest way to, Aaron will tell you how the easiest way to get a hold of that.
Yeah, you're going to go to your app store, whether you're on Android or iOS, and you're going to look for Business Empire in your app store. You can also go, and Robert, I want to make sure you give your landing page URL. Mine is aaronmhuey.com, AARONM, as in Matthew, Huey, HUEY.com. And you'll see me there as the Business Druid. And at the bottom are the links to download the app. Also, once you're in the app, once you start to figure out who you are in the game, because we've designed it that once, as you're creating your avatar, you're actually playing your true, authentic self. And you're meeting other people who have created their characters based on their own personality archetypes. And as they go through the game, as you're going through this game, playing stuff and doing side quests, you will find yourself in a business matchmaking course, which is our networking group that is 24/7 worldwide. And then there's Hear Ye Marketing, right? Because that's what the Herald says. Hear ye, hear ye. And Hear Ye Marketing is a place for you to post and promote your commercials, your videos that you want to test in the real live marketplace. And you become part of our global networking community, and you become part of our audio video testing program. And you're testing your own business ideas. You're making your own business connections. And you're playing a fantasy role-playing game online that's really fun. And the next thing you know, you got a new one-page business plan. And you don't know quite how you ended up with one. But that's part of the gameplay. It's called Business Empire. It's on your phones. Our new version has just downloaded 2 days ago. We're extremely excited about it. I'm sure you can tell. Our version 1 had 95,000 business users. Our second one's going to bust 1 million. We are so excited. So that's how you get the app. That's how you get on a phone. And that's how you take your small business from founding to funding to fortune. All by having fun. And isn't that why we got into business in the first place? Oh my God. We're supposed to have fun doing this.
And that's why, and I know Romana's going to love my URL, because mine is businessherald.fun. businessherald.fun. Because we put the fun back into the fundamentals is what we do through this. And so we'd love for your audience to go and check that out, Romana.
That's so great. And of course, all the URLs will be in the show notes. So it's easy cheesy to find you and the app in the App Store. And wow, our half hour is over. Thank you so much for being on my show. That was more than fun for me. Thank you for being here and being my guest.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks, Romana. I'll see you on the road.